Welcome to this week's draw process. I'm Ike. I'm going to draw a comic book page. This time it's number 32 in First Sun and Sword, and I'll talk about my practice. You can read the comic at ikecomics.com and see the finished page there and the whole story up to this point. Okay, there's the thumbnail. That is the fortress, Sword and Farah on the boat, the canoes in front of it, a little bit of cityscape behind them, then a close-up of Sword and Farah on their canoes. It's like the boat from earlier where it's two canoes connected together. Okay. Even though the top panel is full bleed, it has no border, I draw the border so that I know like an idea of the safe zone. It helps me make sure that things are centered in the panel the way I would like, and that the important stuff is all within a safe zone. They're not going to get cut off in printing or be too close to the edge. So I go ahead and put that line there, even though I won't have an inked border, any border on that panel. Constructing the drawing. I think it's interesting how I think other artists have the same experience that, like the happy little tree kind of idea. Like when you're drawing something flowing, you almost feel the water. You're drawing the rocks, you feel the rocks, you feel the grit. Like you're somehow embodying it and like being it, and it helps you find the shapes. It helps you represent it in line by representing it in your body and psyche in some way, right? But at the same time, let me describe that even further. That a character with a certain facial expression, that I'm making that face myself. Perhaps I'm feeling it. Like the characters, I'm not just like referencing what their wardrobe should be and their sword. I'm not just drawing a fist holding a sword. I feel like the sword is holding that sword, that it's a real sword. Even though my drawings are very simplified, I do my best work when they feel real, and I'm actually that's what I would call drawing in a way. Is you're drawing the feeling, something that feels real to you, communicating that through line. So I was saying you also have to construct the drawing, or most artists do. When the boat below and then this building here, I need to position the main elements, work out the horizon line, the vanishing points, the perspective. There's a little bit of drawing that has to be done first. I feel like the beauty of it, the nuance, is to be able to go from the constructive type drawing, like the building blocks, the methods, to go from that and seamlessly transition to the feeling like the thing you're drawing, the expressing something that really feels like it's there. Of course, art gets interesting when it's fetishized in some way. Let's use that word. Like an artist that really gets into the structure of things, and then it gets expressed like extremely. That can look really interesting. I wonder though about where storytelling comes in. There's art that's very interesting, stylized, but it doesn't necessarily help the storytelling. So I mean, if the story is suited by that style, that's one thing. But if it's not, I mean, if you want to tell a wide range of stories, but your style is very in one mood, then it limits you, or it could make it feel self-conscious and awkward. I don't know. But for me, I really value the expressive side, and the construction of the drawing is only for as much as necessary to be able to draw the things I want to draw. And then I want to be expressive with it, and communicate and tell the stories, show the emotion, show the feeling of the things. I want to be able to draw all kinds of worlds, all kinds of stories with different moods. Being the storyteller that drawing is the language, is the medium of expression, of communication, and that there's quite a vast range of communications one can do, that you're not just one kind of communicator. That's important to me. So it's hard to put words to, but there's certain values that I have, a certain goal that I'm pursuing that feels right to me. It resonates with me. It inspires me. It chose me, or maybe I chose it. It's almost spiritual. It's strange to try to describe, but that's the direction I am going, and I can't go any other way. So sometimes I struggle with that, because I notice that, especially thanks to Instagram and social media, certain styles of drawing, like that have more detail, that take the time to use reference and get things right, and whatever, that certain things get more attention or more likes. That it's hard to break through the noise. There's so much media people consume now that they if you can wow them with an image, you might have more success. At least get more likes and attention initially. So there's a lot of second guessing when you go your own path. And I don't mean to get resentful or negative about what other people do. I've been there before, and I've tried to heal and grow out of that. It's not easier. The grass is not greener on the other side. That it isn't easier on the other side. That an artist that is doing the things I'm trying not to do, or I'm judgmental of, like, their path is not necessarily easier, and it could be just as much a difficult path, and it could be true to them. It could be the same way I'm trying to pursue my vision. They may be pursuing the same thing. So there's a humility and an appreciation of all kinds of directions. But I still struggle with the second guessing yourself and the loneliness that comes with trying to go your own path. But it's hard to say, because I wouldn't even be a comic artist and writer if I wasn't already like the kind of person that feels alone and on my own path, and tends to, just feel separate and different than other people. Like, I've struggled with that my whole life, feeling different and not understood. And yeah. to not feel like you fit in. And that can be like very lonely. It can have you ashamed or feeling down on yourself. It can have you feeling egotistical and pompous or resentful, judgmental. It can be a hard experience to process. But yeah, if I wasn't the way that I am, I wouldn't be able to make comic books. I wouldn't be doing the things I'm doing. I am very privileged. I mean, I think a few videos back, maybe it was last time I was talking about feeling thankful. I'm privileged to get to live my life and have my perspective and experience, even if there's challenges and not feeling like you fit in. But it's not easy. Yeah, and when people express appreciation for your uniqueness or what you've achieved, or they just value your perspective and stuff, it sometimes kind of hurts because you just wanted to be like everyone else, and instead you like them recognizing something in you that they appreciate is almost like further, it's recognizing that you're separate at the same time. I know this is getting kind of deep. I think other artists struggle with this same feeling, and that I'm not alone, and that's why I'm talking about it. You can suffer needlessly, I think, by this isolation and this pressure to fix this. And it's like, I've been learning a lot lately in life that it's okay to be it's okay to not fit in, and it isn't even necessarily true that you didn't fit in. It's just something you picked up on that isn't necessarily true. That you're connected to everyone, whether you know it or not. Yeah. So if you can't communicate with people and feel connected every day naturally, then maybe you become a writer or an artist, and then you get to be very careful and really work out a way to communicate. And then, that's your way of trying to connect. I don't know. Maybe there's some truth to that it's from a wound in a way that we pursue and suffer towards these goals. That doesn't make them bad. To me, it doesn't mean it's bad. It just means that there's a lot of suffering and in life, and it can be necessary almost to development and production and creativity. And it doesn't cheapen what's accomplished if it grew from a place of pain or vulnerability. We've all come from nothing to be proud of, shameful places if you go back to apes or something. So I drew the comics, and now they draw me. They draw me to them. This is what I gotta do now. I'm really glad I have this YouTube so that I can share more share more of my practice and my art form, and not just like the finished books that I do. Yeah. What to say now? I just feel like everything's perfect now. Everything just feels really, really peaceful. I've got nothing. There's nothing worth saying at the moment. That it's just perfect the way it is. How nice. Well, I have been drawing more in the sketchbook and stuff, studying anatomy. It's been good. It's strange when I spend more time doing like studying and paying attention to anatomy and how I draw, and it also becomes considering other ways that I could be drawing that I'm not. And the less naivety I have, the more like knowledge I have of visual languages and art, the more I'm aware of all the different ways I could do it. I feel like that ultimately only helps, but like it can be kind of a pain, like kind of stressful in the time, because with so many options, you can second guess yourself a lot. And then like now that I'm doing more anatomy study, like I'm just even more aware of the flaws in my drawing. And for me to draw the way I want to and tell stories the way I want to, I need to be very expressive, and I need to like have some boldness in my decisions. And if I'm trying to be correct and perfect with anatomy and whatnot, then it loses the boldness, it loses the spontaneity and the expressive drawing. So, and then that makes the storytelling suffer. So, it's tough. But I know that I want to keep studying anatomy and stuff. It's just, and developing greater visual language and knowledge, because it's only going to help. Like I said, it's just strange at the time. But I think for me, the answer involves maintaining a practice. So if my sketchbook work or studying of anatomy or whatever is, if my, it's got me exploring and questioning how I draw, it's like, well, if you're also regularly producing, for me, comic book pages, then it kind of doesn't matter how you feel about it. You might be questioning, but you still do it. You produce the page whether you like it or not. And by doing it, you're reinforcing to yourself that you know what you're doing, and you kind of get in the flow, and you're like, oh yeah, this is how I do it. I know what I'm doing. I can do this. So maintaining that practice becomes really helpful, and not going down the rabbit hole too far of other ways I could be, and questioning and studying. That the studying is not just an intellectual exercise, it's you got to stay practical too. All right. Yeah, inking this out. Yeah, I have noticed that my drawings are looking a little different as I keep doing more sketchbook work, studying. My drawings are changing some. the style a little bit changing from the beginning of this issue. Something that I see happening all the time, kind of. There's times when I've been more careful with my ink lines to maintain one width of line the whole time, to move slowly, carefully, close the lines carefully, be very selective about when I do broken lines, and little patterns and stuff like brickwork, like getting those lines really clean and careful. And I really like work that looks that way, and I value that. But the way I seem to keep going is to let my pen fly across the page, to just like kind of go loose and expressive and just like do it and let the lines overlap a little bit or whatever, because who cares? And something pulls me that direction, and it's not laziness. It's not like that I want to get it done, that I'm just driven to get it done. It feels like a healthy thing. It feels like more natural. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, one of the things I think I've changed is I used to do in blocks of black shadow, like I just put on the boat there. When I put those blocks in, I would leave white edges to things, or like let's say it's like the boards on the boat, and then the part that's in shadow, you see a white edge. So what was a black line on white paper turns into like a white line on black paper, the black ink section. And that I've done less and less of that, and part of it is it's just like it's a little extra work to like be careful about like leaving a white line when I'm not using, I have to make that line by black ink, by leaving a section undone, or by going back with whiteout and creating that line. And both are feel like some extra work, some extra steps. And for me, when I find that I'm able to make it look decent and communicate what those things are without doing that, then I like to just skip that step. And that's something I've been doing. So like here, what I've done is just a block of black on each board, instead of a, I guess you'd say a black section where the ink lines on the right turn into white lines on the left. It's more like that black line continues all the way across into the shadow, but there's a white edge left, That's hard to explain, but yeah, the black line doesn't turn white and continue into the shadow. The shadow is just broken up into separate blocks, and that just makes it easier and faster, and it looks fine. And when I keep doing things like that feel right, and maybe partly for efficiency, a style begins to emerge, and over time it gets more and more part of my visual language, and people will enjoy that. Like I have to believe that will that it will pay off, that it will result in a well curated, expressive, visual language of an artist's voice, that will be recognizable to people, right? And that's far more important to me than how accurate the anatomy is, or how it looks. Even how it looks, like I almost don't get to choose how it looks. Like I just have to pursue my inspiration, pursue like my value here, and let go of my ego and just let it look however it's going to look. And I I don't really get a choice in that. I think that's a beautiful way of thinking about it. And that's liberating. I feel better after getting to that conclusion. Some of the confusion I was describing earlier, I feel a lot better about. Yeah, I got a lot of questions going around in my head. I'm kind of confused sometimes or second guessing. I just have to let all of that go because none of it matters. Like, I don't really get to choose. I just got to do it. And let whatever voice I'm going to have develop. And I don't get to choose whether people like it or not either. I just have to do it. And that is it for this week. There's the finished page. You can see each section there. Be the practice of your art and encourage others to do the same. Have a good week. I'll see you next time.